Nobody talked to the boy in the wheelchair anymore. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were scared. Scared of saying the wrong thing. Scared of making him remember. Scared of the tall iron gates that kept everyone away from the big white house on Maple Street. The boy's name was Elliot. He was 12 years old, and once upon a time, he was the fastest runner in the whole neighborhood. Once upon a time, everything was different. Before the accident, Elliot would race down the sidewalk every morning. His sneakers made happy slapping sounds against concrete. His laugh was loud and bright, like a bell ringing on a summer day. Kids would wait by their windows just to see him zoom past, his backpack bouncing on his shoulders, his smile stretching from ear to ear. "There goes Elliot," they would shout. "Catch him if you can." But nobody could catch Elliot. He was lightning in boy form. He was wind with a face. Then came the day that changed everything. It happened on a Tuesday. A car ran a red light. Elliot was crossing the street, headphones in his ears, music in his heart. He never heard the screaming tires, never saw the metal rushing toward him. He only remembered waking up in a hospital bed, his legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. Legs that wouldn't listen anymore. Legs that had forgotten how to run. The doctors used big words that Elliot didn't understand. His father sat beside the bed, hands covering his face, shoulders shaking in a way that made Elliot more scared than any doctor's words ever could. When Elliot finally came home, the iron gates were already installed. "To keep you safe," his father said, but his eyes looked far away, like he was seeing something terrible that only he could see. The gates were tall and black and cold. They had sharp points at the top like dragon teeth. A camera watched everyone who walked by. A speaker box demanded answers from anyone who dared to press the button. But nobody pressed the button anymore. Elliot's father was a millionaire. He owned 3 buildings downtown and 2 fancy restaurants where rich people ate tiny food on big plates. Money poured into their house like rain, but it couldn't fix Elliot's legs. It couldn't bring back the running boy. So his father did what he could. He controlled everything else. Every morning at exactly 7 o'clock, a nurse arrived. She had kind eyes but careful hands. She helped Elliot with things he hated needing help with. She never stayed longer than necessary. She never asked how he felt. Every afternoon at exactly 3 o'clock, a therapist came. He made Elliot stretch and bend and try to move muscles that felt dead as stone. The therapist smiled too much. His voice was too cheerful. He talked to Elliot like he was 5 years old, not 12. Elliot hated him. Every evening at exactly 6 o'clock, his father came home. They ate dinner in silence. His father asked the same 3 questions. Did you eat lunch? Did you do your exercises? Do you need anything? Elliot always answered, yes, yes, no. He never told the truth. The truth was too big and too dark and too scary to say out loud. The neighborhood kids stopped coming after the first month. At first, they tried. They knocked on the gate. They called his name. They held up posters that said, "Get well soon," in bright marker colors. But Elliot never came outside. His father never let them in. He needs rest. His father told him through the speaker box. He needs quiet. He needs time. Eventually, they stopped trying, but they didn't stop looking. Every day, when Elliot sat by his window, he saw them, walking to school, riding bikes, playing basketball in the park across the street. They would glance at his window. Some would wave, quick and nervous, like they weren't sure if they should. Elliot never waved back. He heard what they said about him. Voices carried on the wind. Whispers that weren't quite quiet enough. Poor Elliot. I heard he'll never walk again. My mom said his dad went crazy after the accident. Do you think he's okay in there? Maybe he doesn't want to see anyone anymore. That last one hurt the most because it was almost true. Elliot didn't want anyone to see him like this. Broken. Stuck. Different. The wheelchair wasn't just metal and wheels. It was a sign that hung around his neck, invisible but heavy. This boy is not who he used to be. 6 months passed like this. 6 months of routine and silence and loneliness. So thick it felt like breathing underwater. Then one Tuesday morning, exactly 6 months after the accident, something impossible happened. Elliot was sitting by his window, watching the kids walk to school when he saw her. A girl, about his age, maybe younger. Her skin was dark brown, like earth after rain. Her hair was twisted into messy braids that stuck out in every direction. Her clothes were too big, swallowing her thin body in faded fabric. Her shoes had holes in the toes. She walked slowly down the sidewalk, not going anywhere in particular, just walking. In her hand, she held something small, a rose, but not a pretty rose like the ones his father's gardener planted by the gate. This rose was damaged. Its petals were bruised purple and brown. Its stem was bent. Some of its leaves were missing. The girl stopped in front of Elliot's house. Everyone else always walked faster when they passed the big white house with the iron gates. They looked away. They pretended not to see. But not this girl. She stood there, staring straight at Elliot's window. Her eyes were sharp and knowing, like she could see through glass and walls and all the things Elliot tried to hide. Elliot's heart started beating faster. He wanted to move away from the window, but he couldn't. He was frozen, caught in her gaze like a fish in a net. Then the girl did something that made Elliot's breath stop in his chest. She walked toward the gate. The camera swiveled to follow her. The speaker box crackled to life. "This is private property," his father's recorded voice announced. "Please move along." The girl ignored it. She walked right up to the gate, reached between the iron bars, and placed a bruised rose on the ground, just inside the property line where Elliot could see it. Then she looked up at his window again. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She just looked at him, steady and sure, like she was making a promise he didn't understand yet. Then she turned around and walked away. Elliot sat frozen at his window, staring at the broken rose lying on the ground behind the dragon-teeth gate. Something inside his chest cracked open. Something he thought had died with his legs. He didn't know who she was. He didn't know why she did it. But tomorrow, he decided, he would be at the window again, waiting. The next morning, Elliot was at the window before the sun came up. He had barely slept. All night, he kept thinking about the girl, about her sharp eyes and her quiet courage, about the bruised rose lying on the ground outside. When dawn broke, painting the sky pink and orange, Elliot wheeled himself closer to the glass. His heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape. Would she come back? Or was yesterday just a strange dream? At exactly 8 o'clock, she appeared. She walked down the sidewalk with the same slow, careful steps. Today she wore different clothes, but they were just as worn and too big. Her braids were slightly neater, like maybe she had tried to fix them with her fingers. She had no rose this time. Her hands were empty. Elliot's heart sank. Maybe she was just passing by. Maybe yesterday meant nothing. But then she stopped at the gate again. This time, she didn't place anything down. Instead, she pressed a button on the speaker box. The camera turned toward her. His father's recorded voice crackled. "This is private property. Please move along." The girl pressed the button again. "This is private property." She pressed it a third time. Elliot heard footsteps thundering down the stairs. His father was home today, working in his office. His father hated interruptions. "Go away," his father's real voice boomed through the speaker. "We don't want any solicitors." The girl leaned close to the speaker box. Her voice was quiet but clear, like a bell cutting through fog. "I'm not selling anything," she said. "I came to talk to the boy in the window." Silence. Elliot's breath caught. She had seen him, really seen him. His father's voice came back, softer now but edged with suspicion. "My son doesn't want visitors." "Did you ask him?" More silence. Elliot's hands gripped his wheelchair. His father never asked. His father always decided. "Young lady," his father said, voice tight, "I don't know who you are, but—" "My name is Maya," the girl interrupted, "and I think your son is lonely. I know because I'm lonely too." Something in her words made the air feel heavy. True things always weighed more than lies. Elliot didn't think. He just moved. He wheeled himself to the top of the stairs and shouted down, "Dad, let her in." It was the first time he had shouted in 6 months. The first time he had asked for anything real. His father appeared at the bottom of the stairs, face pale with shock. Elliot, you don't know this girl. She could be. Please. Elliot's voice cracked. Please, Dad. Just this once. Father and son stared at each other across the distance. Years of silence and sadness stretched between them like a rope pulled too tight. Finally, his father's shoulder sagged. He pressed a button on his phone. The gate buzzed and swung open. Maya walked through like she owned the world. 5 minutes later, she sat in Elliot's room. She had refused his father's offer of cookies and milk, refused the comfortable chair. Instead, she sat cross-legged on the floor, looking around at all of Elliot's things with curious eyes. You have a lot of stuff, she said. Elliot felt embarrassed. His room was full of things his father bought to make him feel better. Video games, books, a huge TV, shelves packed with toys he never touched. Yeah, he muttered. Does it help? Maya asked. All this stuff. Elliot looked at his hands. No, didn't think so. Maya picked at a hole in her shoe. Stuff never helps with the real problems. What's your real problem? Elliot asked quietly. Maya looked up at him. Her eyes were old for a 12-year-old. I'm homeless. I sleep in a shelter 3 blocks from here. Sometimes they don't have room, so I sleep in the park. I'm hungry most days, cold on the bad nights, and I'm invisible. People look right through me like I'm made of glass. Elliot felt his chest tighten. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm not telling you for pity. Maya stood up and walked to his window. She looked out at the neighborhood. I'm telling you because I know what it's like when people stop seeing you as human, when they only see the bad thing that happened to you. The wheelchair, Elliot whispered. The wheelchair, Maya agreed. Not Elliot, just a chair. Tears burned behind Elliot's eyes. Nobody had understood before. Not the doctors, not the therapist, not even his father. They all saw the disability first. The boy second. How did you know? He asked. Maya turned to face him. Because when people look at me, they don't see Maya. They see homeless kid. They see poor girl. They see something to feel bad about and then forget. But you brought me that rose, Elliot said. Why? A small smile tugged at Maya's lips. I found it in a trash can behind a fancy restaurant. Someone threw it away because it wasn't perfect anymore. But I looked at it and thought, this rose is still alive, still beautiful, just different than it was before. She paused. Like you. Elliot's tears spilled over. He couldn't stop them. Maya didn't look away. She didn't tell him not to cry. She just waited, patient as stone. When Elliot could speak again, his voice was rough. Everyone says I need time, that I should wait. Wait to heal. Wait to feel better. Wait to be ready. But I'm so tired of waiting. Then stop, Maya said simply. Stop. Stop waiting. Start trying. Trying what? Maya walked over and crouched down beside his wheelchair, trying to move, trying to fight, trying to be alive again instead of just existing in this big house behind those big gates. You don't understand, Elliot said, anger flashing hot in his chest. The doctor said... I don't care what the doctor said. Maya's voice was fierce. I've been waiting my whole life, waiting for my mom to get better, waiting for a real home, waiting for someone to care. And you know what I learned? Waiting doesn't fix anything. It just makes you older and sadder and more stuck. Elliot stared at her, this girl who had nothing, who slept in shelters and wore shoes with holes, who should have been broken by life, but somehow wasn't. What do you want me to do? He whispered. Move, Maya said, even if it hurts, even if it's scary, even if it's just one finger, one toe, one tiny muscle. Because that's what being alive means. Moving forward, even when you can't see where you're going. Before Elliot could respond, his father appeared in the doorway. His face was tight with worry. I think that's enough for today, he said. His voice was polite but firm. Maya, was it? Thank you for visiting, but Elliot needs to rest. Maya stood up. She looked at Elliot's father without fear. He doesn't need rest. He needs hope. You have no right to tell me what my son needs, his father said, voice rising. You don't know what we've been through. You don't know how hard this has been. You're right, Maya said quietly. I don't know, but I know what I see. A boy who's still alive, still feeling, still wanting more than this. She gestured at the room, the house, the gates outside. You built him a cage and called it protection. His father's face turned red. Get out. Now. Maya nodded. She walked to the door, then paused. She looked back at Elliot one last time. I'll come back tomorrow, she said, if you want me to. Elliot looked at his father's angry face, then at Maya's steady, certain eyes. He made his choice. Yes, Elliot said, voice stronger than before. Come back, please. His father opened his mouth to argue, but Elliot cut him off. Dad, you said you'd do anything to help me. This helps. She helps. So please let her come back. The fight drained out his father's face. He looked suddenly old and very tired. Fine, he whispered. Fine. Maya smiled. It was the first real smile Elliot had seen on her face. It made her look younger, lighter. Tomorrow then, she said. And Elliot, try to move something tonight. Anything, even if it's small, even if it hurts. Try. Then she was gone, walking back through the gates that seemed a little less scary now. Elliot sat in his room as the sun began to set. He stared at his legs. His useless, silent, broken legs. Move, he whispered to them. Please, just try. He focused all his energy on his right foot. Imagine it lifting. Imagine the muscles remembering what they once knew. Nothing happened. He tried again, and again, and again. Still nothing. But something had changed. For the first time in 6 months, Elliot wasn't just waiting for his body to heal. He was fighting. Maya came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. She came every morning at 8 o'clock, like the sun rising. Elliot's father stopped arguing after the first week. He saw something he hadn't seen in 6 months. His son was smiling again. Not all the time. Not even most of the time. But sometimes, when Maya told stories about the pigeons in the park who fought over French fries, or about the old man at the shelter who sang opera in the shower, Elliot would laugh. Really laugh. The sound filled the house like music that had been missing too long. But Maya didn't just come to make him laugh. She came to make him work. Show me, she would say every morning. And Elliot would try to move. He would focus all his energy on his legs, his feet, his toes. He would imagine the signals traveling from his brain down his spine, waking up sleeping muscles. Most days, nothing happened. Some days, he thought he felt a tiny tingle, a whisper sensation. Good, Maya would say, even when there was nothing to see. Keep going. She never treated him like he was fragile. Never used that careful voice everyone else used. When he wanted to quit, she got angry. You think you're the only one with problems? She snapped one day when he threw a pillow across the room in frustration. You think having a wheelchair is the hardest thing in the world? You don't understand. Elliot shouted back. You're right. I don't understand having money in a big house and a father who loves you. Maya's eyes flashed. But I understand giving up, and I understand fighting. And right now you're choosing to give up. I'm not giving up. Then prove it. Maya yelled. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and move. Elliot was so angry his whole body shook. He wanted to stand up and yell in her face. Wanted to storm out of the room. Wanted to show her that he wasn't weak or broken or, wanted to stand up. He looked down at his legs. His heart started pounding. Maya, he whispered. I felt something. She moved closer. What? When I got angry, I felt something. In my leg. Maya's eyes went wide. Do it again. Get angry again. I can't just. Yes, you can. Maya grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face. Come on. Get mad at me. I'm an annoying, stubborn, pushy girl who won't leave you alone. Get mad. Elliot felt the anger rising again. Not at her words, but at everything. At the car that hit him. At his legs for not working. At the 6 months of loneliness and silence and waiting. I hate this, he screamed. And his right toe moved. Just a tiny bit. Just a centimeter. But it moved. Maya saw it. Elliot saw it. They both froze, staring at his foot like it was magic. "Did you?" Maya breathed. "I did," Elliot whispered. "I did. I did." Maya let out a scream of joy so loud that Elliot's father came running up the stairs, thinking something was wrong. Instead, he found his son crying and laughing at the same time, and a homeless girl dancing around the room like she had won the lottery. He moved his toe. Maya shouted. "Mr. Reed, he moved it." Elliot's father dropped to his knees beside the wheelchair. His hands were shaking. "Elliot, is it true?" "Watch," Elliot said. He closed his eyes, thought about the anger, about the fire he felt inside, about wanting to stand and fight and live. The toe moved again. His father made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. He buried his face in Elliot's lap and cried like Elliot had never seen him cry before. "I thought I lost you," his father choked out. "I thought the accident took my boy away forever." Elliot put his hand on his father's head. "I'm still here, Dad. I've always been here." From that day on, everything changed. The therapist came more often, but now Elliot worked with him instead of against him. It hurt. It hurt so much that some days Elliot screamed into his pillow. But Maya was always there, holding his hand, reminding him that pain meant progress. "The rose hurt too," she said one day. "When I found it, its thorns cut my finger. But I kept holding it anyway, because beautiful things are worth the pain." Weeks passed, then months. One toe became 2 toes. 2 toes became a whole foot. A foot became an ankle that could flex. The doctors were amazed. They used words like miraculous and unprecedented. But Elliot knew the truth. It wasn't a miracle. It was stubbornness. It was anger. It was a homeless girl who refused to let him quit. It was love. Then came the day that Elliot would remember for the rest of his life. Maya arrived at 8 o'clock, like always. But today, Elliot wasn't in his wheelchair. He was standing beside it, holding onto his father's arm, his legs shaking like baby deer legs. "I'm going to walk to you," Elliot said. Maya's eyes filled with tears. "Elliot, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." Elliot looked at his father. "Let go, Dad." "Son, you'll fall." "Then I'll fall." "Let go." His father's hands released him slowly, terrified. Elliot stood alone. His legs were screaming. Every muscle was on fire. But he was standing, by himself, for the first time in 9 months. Maya stood 10 feet away. 10 feet that looked like 10 miles. "Come on," she said softly. "You can do this." Elliot lifted his right foot. It moved forward 6 inches and came down hard. His whole body swayed. But he didn't fall. He lifted his left foot. Another 6 inches. His father was crying again. Maya was crying. Elliot was crying. But he kept moving. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. His legs gave out on the 4th step. But Maya was there. She caught him. And they both went down together, crashing to the floor in a tangle of arms and legs and tears and laughter. "You did it," Maya sobbed. "You did it." "We did it," Elliot corrected. He looked up at his father, who was kneeling beside them. "We all did it." His father pulled them both into a hug so tight that Elliot could barely breathe. But he didn't care. For the first time in 9 months, he felt whole, not fixed, not healed, not back to the way he was before, but whole in a different way, a stronger way. The next week, Elliot's father did something unexpected. He opened the iron gates and left them open. No more cameras. No more speaker box. No more fortress. "I was trying to protect you," he told Elliot. "But I was really just building walls around my own fear. I am sorry." Elliot hugged his father. "It's okay. We're learning together." Maya got something unexpected, too. Elliot's father offered her a room in their house. A real room with a real bed and clothes that fit, and 3 meals a day. "I can't pay you back," Maya said quietly. Elliot's father smiled, and for the first time, Elliot saw how young his father still was. How much sadness had aged him. "You already paid me back," his father said. "You gave me my son." Maya moved in that day. Elliot still used his wheelchair sometimes. His legs got tired easily, and some days they hurt too much to walk. The doctors said he might always walk with a limp, might always need help with some things. But Elliot didn't care about perfect. He cared about possible. Every morning, he and Maya walked to the park together. Elliot limped slowly, using a cane. Maya walked beside him, patient as stone, carrying a new rose that Elliot's father's gardener grew just for her. This rose wasn't bruised or broken. Its petals were perfect and red. But Maya kept the old rose too. She pressed in a book and kept it on her nightstand. "Why do you keep it?" Elliot asked one day. Maya smiled. "Because it reminds me that broken things can still be beautiful, that damaged things can still grow, that two lonely people can find each other and become something more." Elliot looked at the rose, then at Maya, then at the open gates that led to a world he was no longer afraid of. "Thank you," he said, "for not giving up on me." "Thank you for not giving up on yourself," Maya replied. They walked on together, two kids who the world tried to forget, proving that sometimes the most impossible things happen when someone simply refuses to walk away. The boy behind the gate learned to walk again, not because of money or doctors or time, but because a girl with a bruised rose saw him not as a broken thing to pity, but as a human being worth fighting for. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Sometimes the stories that matter most are the ones we share. If Elliot and Maya's journey moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently about courage, loneliness, and the power of refusing to give up on someone, share this story. Like this story if you believe that broken things can still be beautiful. Share this story if you know someone who needs to hear that they're not alone. Subscribe to hear more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, about hope that refuses to die, and about the kind of love that shows up every single day, even when it's hard. Because the world needs more people like Maya. More people who see past the wheelchair, past the homeless clothes, past the things that make us look different, and choose to see the human underneath. More people who bring roses to locked gates. More people who refuse to let others wait alone. Be that person. Share this story. Let's fill the world with bruised roses that refuse to stop blooming.